I made a video yesterday about the whole upcoming Civil War. Everybody keeps promising me. I'm waiting on it. But if it's gonna come from somewhere, it's gonna be this. It's gonna be, ironically, from uh, the most liberal places possible, who say they just want peace and they want to stop the fascists, and everybody is all the immigrants can come in, and they don't want to stop. There's no borders for anything, and we're all peace and lovey-dovey, and we love we love everyone. We need a socialist paradise. That's where this is all coming from. Ironically, that's probably where, if there's a quote unquote civil war, that's where it's coming from. Portland specifically, uh, possibly places like Los Angeles, but for whatever reason, Portland is the hotbed of insane teenagers, and somehow these, I guess, I don't even know what you can call them. These activist professors seem like they're everywhere in Portland. These crazy people who are just, I don't know where they get them all from. Because I'm gonna read this article, and I have a bunch of stuff pulled up, and we're gonna talk about each of them. But I don't know how these people don't get shot. maybe it's just a Portland thing. Maybe it's a Western thing. But some of the stuff they get away with over there would not fly here, on this side of the country, specifically in the South. And maybe that's why you don't see a bunch of Antifa rallies and people throwing stuff. I mean, you still see protests and stuff, but nothing like this. I don't know what's going on over there. And like I said, if there's going to be a quote unquote civil war, you'll probably see it start there. That's where the home of the violence is, and it may expand from there, but maybe there's some hope. I've got a couple articles pulled up here. Obviously, some of these Antifa types are doing some really insane stuff that are just asking for trouble, and it seems like maybe people are getting tired of it. At least the judges are. Where the police are, I don't know. I feel like if this was any other part of the country, these people would be getting the hell beat out of them. Maybe it's because of all the protests that were happening a few years ago that they don't. I remember when the Black Lives Matter protests were getting big, and there was a lot of police activity out because they were busting stuff up and all that. And I mean, not that they were. I'm not going to compare them to the Antifa types because they're not. But I think when the police got criticized for trying to stop a lot of the violence that was happening around them, and a lot of the damage that was happening to in the wake of the things like, was it Michael Brown was his name? After that, what happened to the town and stuff. The police were getting criticized heavily for shutting that stuff down. So I think a lot of police organizations were and still are very sketchy about trying not to get too involved in these protest type things, because they don't want to get labeled as anything, or sued. But I think at some point in Portland, it's gonna hit it's gonna hit a point where you're gonna have to. You have to step in as a police force more than they have. Anyway, let me read this and we will go from here. Suspected Antifa members show up at reporter's family home, docs elderly mother's business. If you haven't read this, and if you can't see through the crappy camera footage, this is Mr. Andy No. He was in the news. Let's see if I have the other article. Yeah, this was the other article. This is by the Rolling Stone. This was the original attack, if anybody's paid attention, a few months ago on Mr. Andy No, where he was at a rally. And the video I may or may not link in the description, but he was attacked basically by these guys. He's walking with the protest or the rally, and they started just pummeling with all kinds of stuff. They shot like silly string stuff at his face, and then they started throwing stuff at him, and then they started hitting him, and Obviously, look, he's all busted up. I think he ended up coming out of it with like a brain hemorrhage or something at some point in one of these rallies. And this article by the Rolling Stone is actually pretty disgusting. Uh, they they're here defending Antifa, saying people are demonizing them, and that he got what he deserved. Basically, they're victim blaming, saying that this guy showed up with these patriot prayer types, and there may have been Proud Boys there, he said, or that the article says may defend him, but I don't see any of that as an excuse to beat the hell out of the guy and throw stuff at him, and they were cursing at him, and it was a pretty bad look. And the fact that Rolling Stone can get behind that and defend Antifa is pretty egregious, and I don't understand how anyone could ever support this. That's not what this country's about, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Let's see, who wrote this? Mr. E.J. Dixon. This is I don't know what this guy is about. This was from September 3rd. But dude, I hope no one ever reads any of your stuff ever again, because you're insane. I know the whole gaslighting term is really hot right now, and I actually hate it. But the same people who probably use that term to say that other people are getting people riled up and stuff, that's what this is. You're manipulating. He says a right-wing troll is manipulating the mainstream media. No, you're manipulating young kids, teens, to think that violence is a good thing and it's okay because some guy was walking in a protest, regardless of what that protest is. I don't care if he's a literal Nazi, like a neo-Nazi walking down the street. You have no right to do this. This is America. I don't know what country you think you live in. I don't know if Portland, I don't know where this guy's from, thinks that they're their own country, but it's not okay. And I hope that they step up soon, because this is actually not okay. I don't know how to put it without using much harsher language, and I try to avoid that in these videos, because I generally curse a lot more than that I do in these videos, because but I try and keep it family friendly here as much as I can. Let me go back to this. Let me read a little bit of what happened here. On Thursday night, 6 suspected male Antifa members went to a family home of journalist Andy Ngo, who routinely covers the far left group's violent antics, particularly in Portland, where a lot of it does happen. Wearing printout faces of Ngo, the individuals repeatedly rang the doorbell of the home, banged on the windows, according to the reporter, and provided the video footage to the police. The Antifa members, who were wearing thick gloves, grabbed the handle of his front door, trying to get in, all that kind of stuff. There were 6 of them, and I think there was a whole video here. I'll link it. But he ended up calling the police, and they also put out the identity and all the information to his grandmother. I think it was below, somewhere around here. The Antifa group has put out a wanted-style community alert calling for the public to protest my upcoming lecture at the Heritage Foundation. No posted on October 12th, so it seems like they're trying to get ahead of it and basically intimidate this guy and try and shut him down however they can. This is exactly what we're trying to avoid in this country. Talk about civil war. You want to know a good way to reach it is intimidation. Trying to shut people down from talking. You can protest if you want a speech. That's one thing. But going to their homes, going to their mother's business. Oh yeah, it was their mother's. I read that already, but it was going to their mother's business, putting out information to their family. This is how you reach the violence levels. Now, like I said before, I don't know what you guys are doing in Portland, but if this was Louisiana, like where I live, these boys would have been in some trouble, because somebody would have been coming out with a bat and probably a gun, and if you're on their property, you'd have been in trouble. I'm not saying I promote that, because I don't. But I'm saying is, you're asking for trouble when you do this kind of stuff in other places, and I don't understand in Portland how they can be okay with this kind of stuff. If you're not going to defend your home, or you're going to allow this kind of stuff to happen, why aren't the police doing more? I don't understand. Again, I'm not calling for violence against anybody, because that's what this whole video is about, is to stop that. But these people are scumbags, and the police just aren't doing enough. And these are punk teens, essentially. I know some of them are 30-year-old losers, and there's some that are 40 and 50-year-olds. There's like it seems like every group of Antifa losers has like a 50-year-old or a 35-year-old who just never grew up and got a real job. They're an art director, or they're a school professor who they have a specialty in fascism, as one of these other articles I've got says. Where I don't even know how you get that degree in fascism and think this is okay. When you use fascist tactics to shut down other people and then say you have a degree in fascism, that doesn't exactly match up. But these people doing stuff like this, these are obviously teens thinking this is a good idea, and I'd say probably this guy in the back, the back right guy, that's the 50-year-old loser. Or the one turned around, it's probably some girl who doesn't want to be accidentally caught on camera. Anyway, let me go to the next article. Oh no, this is the one I want to talk about. This one, I just wanted to highlight another thing about it. If you haven't read this article, I will link this one as well. An Antifa activist charged with felony hate crimes for anti-Semitic attacks. Again, the Rolling Stone defending these people, but over and over again, it's nothing but political violence, anti-Semitic attacks. The man literally attacked a rabbi and was threatening him, saying things like "Jews, Jews, Jews, give me your money." Like, how do you defend these people? I don't understand how anybody can, and I don't understand when stuff like this starts happening, when extreme violence like this happens, and they're threatening Jews and they're coming to people's houses. How is this not a terrorist organization? The people in the Proud Boys are already listed as one, and they've never done anything nearly like this. They've beat up a few Antifa types and they've gotten in some scuffles, which is not something I would do. They go out there looking to counter protest, which is just asking for trouble. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you're asking for violence, but that does mean you're walking to the edge of it. But these guys are specifically looking for trouble, and they're going to people's houses and they're attacking Jews. They're literally called. Can we get this straight? They're calling people Nazis, and they're literally like going after Jews and telling them to give them their money. Where are we at? These people shut down people like Ben Shapiro, and they go after rabbis, and they go to immigrants' houses, people who are just reporters to this kind of stuff, and they go to their door and try and break in, and how you ever get around defending these people, I don't know. This is the article that kind of started me down this. Wanted to do this video today. I'm not gonna go up because it's got some bloody pictures of the guy's head basically beat open. A baton attack in June in downtown Portland by an Antifa type. Got the guy in prison for nearly 6 years. So let me read a little bit of this. A 24-year-old man who hit another man over the head with a baton in June during a dueling downtown demonstration in Portland was sentenced Friday to nearly 6 years in prison. Halupowski, what a name. maybe a Polish name, I guess, pleaded guilty to second-degree assault in connection with June 29th attack on Andy Kelly outside the Nines Hotel along the Southwest Morrison Street. Halapowski has identified as one of the masked black clothes demonstrators seen in the video hitting pepper spraying Kelly after he appeared to come to the aid of another man who'd been attacked during the protests. Again, these guys are attacking people who aren't even doing anything. He's going to help somebody who's being beaten up, and then he has his head split open by a baton. And these Portland police are still doing nothing. At least this guy is finally coming to something. As it says below here, he ended up getting a severe concussion and 25 staples to close the wounds on his head. At least the judge has done something, but I mean, this is first degree or second degree assault. I kind of wish this would have gone further into attempted murder, because when you split someone's head open like that, that's a little bit above assault. And a lot of people in other areas would have received a much higher sentence than just 6 years, and he's probably got parole somewhere in there. This man's probably going to serve 2 or 3 years and then be on probation because he's a young kid. He's 24, and I want to know what's going to happen with these kids, because like I said, a lot of them they're getting led along by people like this professor here, which I'm going to read a little bit of this. Local professor says, "Hell yes to Antifa violence." These professors and these 50-year-olds and these people trying to lead these Antifa types to beat up people, go to their houses. They're setting a bad example for these kids who are these guys aren't the ones who are going to end up in jail. It's the kids splitting over someone's helmet because you pissed him off and told him that they were literal Nazis here taking over the country. Those are the people who are going to pay the price for your insanity. This kid has ruined his life. This 24-year-old has ruined his life, and if he ends up in jail for the next 6 years, he's done. You've ruined his life. You took the best years of his life, the absolute best years, and put him in jail over this stupid cause that isn't even real. You're LARPing in real life. That these Nazis are out there, and you're seeing ghosts everywhere. You're calling Jews and reporters, immigrants. You're calling them all Nazis because they disagree with you, and they're not even far right. They're not even far right. They're just normal conservatives a lot of times, or they're just Jewish. They're Jewish Nazis apparently. Whatever, man. Let me read a little bit of this, and now I'll call it a day. A professor of Nordic Studies at the Pacific Lutheran University said, "Hell yes, he supports the violence towards people anti-fascist activists perceived to be Nazis or fascists. This includes violence against independent journalists severely beaten up in Portland while simply covering a protest. It even includes violence against individuals who pose no immediate physical threat." So you're saying this professor who teaches young children is saying that someone who poses no physical threat and is just a perceived threat to you can be beat up. Can you support any kind of violence against them? You could, as long as you perceive them. Actually, it doesn't even say threat. As long as you perceive them to be a Nazi or a fascist of any kind, just because you perceive it, it doesn't even have to be real. You can beat them up. Seattle Times columnist Matt Calkins recently published a piece highlighting the concern from some of the fans over the decision by members of the independent supporters group Emerald City Supporters to fly the Iron Front flag at games. While most ECS members wouldn't speak to Calkins, not trusting mainstream media outlets to tell their story, Professor Troy Storfergel, PhD, and his son gave an interview. He volunteered. He is a professor at the school and teaches a course on fascism. It almost sounded like he was bragging about the fact. And I mean, that's just the type of person these people are. They're just, I don't know how to put it other than they're narcissists. and they're very into themselves. But he seems but his position seemed alarming to Culkins, telling the communist columnist that he endorses violence against fascists. When he asked about the journalist Andy Ngo, he'd be getting beat up while documenting a recent Antifa protest. Storgeveld said, "He's not a journalist. I don't have a problem with it. There are children dying of lack of medication in concentration camps in the U.S. If one fascist gets a milkshake thrown at him and beaten up, I don't have a problem with it." These people, they're attacking something that has nothing to do with these people. So he's saying about the internment camps, basically, or whatever you want to call them, on the border, the immigration camps, just the holdover for the illegal immigrants that are coming in, where they're trying to figure out what to do with them. A lot of them are kids that come in, they don't have adult supervision, or they've taken them away from people who aren't their parents, that kind of stuff, and they're trying to figure out whether to send them back or all that. That's a whole another video. I don't want to discuss it, but that's what he's referring to. And he's saying he's referring to a fascist. So this reporter is a fascist, and he's linking them to this thing that he's saying is a literal concentration camp, which it's not. That also didn't get started under any kind of conservative anyway, or anybody this Andy Ngo probably agrees with. Seeing as Obama is the one who started this stuff, but somehow that's linked to this guy and to his beliefs. All right, man. Whatever you say. All right. That's enough of that. I'm going to wrap this video up because I could literally sit here all day and read 15 articles of the same stuff. These stupid quote-unquote professors who I don't know, I guess he got his degrees at the local community college, somehow got a PhD in fascism, but he doesn't understand what fascism is, and he thinks that it's okay to beat people up because I guess he doesn't understand what fascism is, and that the entire point of fascism is that you use violence to shut people down and to gain political power. And all right, man, whatever. Well, that's an oxymoron, right? All right, I'll see y'all later.